Season 4 grand opening, where today our Tier 1 drivers will be racing around USA. Welcome everyone, welcome everyone. So as we wait for our drivers to get ready, so obviously we have got a couple of Tier 2 drivers that were promoted to Tier 1. And those were Marshall, Snitsy, and El Shachal. From Tier 2, obviously, they were the top 3. There's also a 4th driver that was promoted. As our drivers start to get ready. Ready to undergo qualifying here around USA. As a few drivers haven't got the message yet to ready up. As we await for the rest of the field to ready up. You got 10 seconds. As we will shortly be underway for qualifying for the season opener here. For Season 4, we're in our 4th season of OBF1, Tier 1. If you are looking to join the league for Tier 1 or Tier 2, be sure to check the link in the description for the Discord, where you can undergo a trial to see whether you are good enough for the league or have the pace for Tier 1 or Tier 2. If you play around 95 AI or below, that would specifically be a Tier 2, I believe so. Anything higher would be Tier 1. As we await, ready to get loaded, as I'm still loading in. So what's interesting about this track is obviously held in Texas, in Austin. And Sector 1 is a very cautious, because obviously a lot of drivers get caught out on track limits.
Thumbs up.
Thank you very much for the comment. Oh. See who comes out of the pits first, as all drivers prepare. It is a Red Bull and a McLaren. Oh, a Haas of Boris here. So the 14 drivers that will be racing today is Cairo, Boris, Little Jim, CDM, George, AGM, Short Marcus, Ahmed, sorry, Marshall, FTH, Mr. Series, El Shahal, Paul and Snitsy will be our 14 drivers for today's racing around USA.
Soon I get ready for the curse.
I'm not gonna say anything just yet. as we have our drivers starting to come out now. Getting their correct tyre strategies and the correct setups for their cars. Obviously, we're not going to know their setups around any of the tracks, to be fair. So it's going to be very intriguing to see what lap times these Tier 1 races can set. We're looking at the 130s to 133, I believe. Could be some drivers hitting the 129s around here. Might be lucky, but obviously my personal best time is, let's just not talk about that, a 137, but, you know, this is why I commentate. As we were right on board with Boris here to start his first flying lap. He gets clean into turn 1 now. Now this is where part of the track most drivers get caught out for track limits, so he's got to be careful not to invalidate around here. He does it. Ooh, he gets a decent exit out of turn 6 there. But he is doing much faster than me, of course, Boris is. But we're not talking about that Boris, as some of you may know. As he comes. Finishes out, gets a decent exit there, full on the power, full on the throttle here. We have a yellow flag in sector 2, just another McLaren. I believe it was Ahmed getting out of the way. See what time he will set as he comes through the final, going out the long right-hander, which does catch some drivers out on track limits, especially there. If you get too much power, then you will exceed track limits there. And he comes across the line and will set a 134.5 to start off. Time is Ahmed goes a 133.5, so he is 1 second quicker there. As he Paul goes third as Snitsy sets a 132.8 on the soft tyre compound. Paul on the medium tyres there with a 134.6. As we ride on board with Jim here. In the Alfa Romeo, as he will come across the line and set a 133.3, goes up into P2. So Snitsy with a really good lap there in P1. As we have El Shahal on his outlap here from Tier 2 on his first appearance in Tier 1 here. So he's looking to make a real reason to why he should be in Tier 1. As we ride on board here with him. Nails the S section of Sector 1 here. Doesn't get called out by track limit or invalidates his lap here. As Short Marcus goes with the 134.0 there. As we got Boris getting out of the way of McLaren driver there. As El Shahal at the moment coming out of sector, almost finishing sector 2, going into sector 3 here. as he will. So we got a couple of more laps out of Mr. Series with 135.1. An AGM setting a time of 133, as we have got a turned around car there. I believe they lost the rear end. Is that, who is that? That's Marshall there. So that was him on his outlap. I'm not sure what happened there. So we're right on board with the FDH here. El Shahal does go up into P8 with a 134.6. He's right on board now. He does set a purple sector 2 now, so he is going fast FDH here in the Ferrari. So where will he come in these tie-ins? As he comes across the line and will set a 133.7, not too far for his teammate AGM, yeah. So he does go up into P5. So we've got 4 drivers remaining to set a lap as we ride on board with Cairo Racing now. As he comes down to finish sector 2 here. As Marshall sets a 141.0, but that was because of what happened. He does set a purple sector now. Cairo Racing here. As he comes through the final corner. Oh, he goes a little bit wide, but he does go the fastest with a 132.4. So he does go to the top of the timings there for Cairo in the McLaren. It's brilliant, with his teammate not too far behind in P4, Ahmed. As we have got a slow driver here to let another driver past. As we're waiting, CDM and George here to set a lap. But CDM has invalidated here, so this lap will not count, so we will need to go again. So if we look at tyre strategies now. So the majority of the field are on soft tyres, a couple of medium runners here out of the 14 drivers. So you can do a soft medium, but it's going to be very interesting how hard you push these soft tyres which you qualify on. But obviously, as you may know, if you qualify outside the top 10, you can pick whatever tyres you want. If you qualify in the top 10, you're not allowed, you have to stick with what you qualified on. So it's going to be very interesting in terms of tyre strategies. But you do not want to waste these tyres up too much in qualifying, obviously. So far it's looking really good for Cairo here, unless if any other drivers. We've still got 7 minutes left of qualifying here, so there's plenty of time for the other drivers to set a faster time of the 132.4. But Can Snitsy, he's making a really good debut as Jim goes the fastest with a 131.7. Brilliant from the Alfa Romeo driver there to go top of the timings there. He is 7/10 quicker there than Cairo in P2, so he found a lot of time on Cairo there to go top of the timings. So as we wait, the remaining 2 drivers to set a lap, but so far Jim on provisional pole at the moment. It's going to be crucial here in the season opener. Which team and which driver is going to be on top of the standings? But I think for this qualifying session, it's looking really good for Jim, unless if someone can go faster than his 131.7. I know I can't, but it's not about me, it's about these Tier 1 drivers, obviously really fast, these Tier 1 drivers. So as we await, we have got a yellow flag in sector 2. He's coming into the pits. Oh, it's Ahmed. Ahmed has retired on track. I believe he has DNF'd now. We'll be right on board with Marshall to see what happened here. Did he spin and hit a wall, or was that an intentional DNF? His car was on track, so that's going to be very interesting to see what happened there. So as we come down to 4 minutes left of this qualifying session for the season opener of Season 4 Tier 1. There's AGM. Goes up into P4 with a 133.3. So a really good lap from AGM there to go up into P4. Someone has retired, but I believe that was in the pit lane. So George has not set a lap there, so he didn't bother setting any lap there. It may be tactical, who knows? Because he has qualified outside the top 10, so he can select his tyres here for the race. As El Shahal goes up into P5. Very strong showing from the former Tier 2 driver there, with a 133.3. As we have Paul now, set purple sector 2 now, so he is flying. It's looking really good for Paul in the Red Bull here. As he looks across the line, comes out the final corner, and he will set a P3 with a 132.1. So brilliant lap there. As Cairo does go faster there, with a 1:31.9. So brilliant lap there from Paul in the Red Bull. Not too far behind is his teammate, Snitsy. So it's looking really good for the Red Bull drivers at the moment. As CDM is on his outlap, as we got 1 minute remaining now. So the drivers are looking to try their best and set faster times. Can anyone beat Jim, who's still top of the timings? So it's looking really close for the midfield lot between P4 as Marcus sets a 1:32.2. 1/10. Wow, 1/10 behind Paul there. So brilliant from the AlphaTauri driver there. Obviously Marcus being our former Season 3 champion for Tier 1. So he's looking to defend his crown from the other drivers. As we wrap up qualifying now. As drivers are looking to finish up their laps now. See if any of them can improve their qualifying, but so far it's looking like Jim's going to get provisional pole here. Unless if any of these drivers can go faster. As I believe that was short Marcus using tactics there to get to the pit lane quicker. As FDH has crashed, going on his way to the pit lane, so that will leave him in P12 as CDM comes across the line, and he will set a 1:32.8 up into P6. As we wrap up qualifying with CDM, not CDM, Jim on pole position for the race. As we wrap up qualifying, your top 10 are Jim, Cairo, Paul, Marcus, Snitsy, CDM, Marshall, Boris, Mr. Series, AGM, and then P11 down to P14, El Shahal, Ahmed, FDH, and George. So far the Red Bull teammates are looking really strong. That was a very exciting qualifying. And within the top four drivers were all within half a second of each other, so that was brilliant. Only 1/10 separated P1 and P2, so it's going to be very exciting for the OBF1 Tier 1 very first race. As all the drivers will now be setting their strategies, getting their correct tyre strategies and setups. If any of you are enjoying the stream so far, make sure to like and subscribe, because around about 1,495% of you are not subscribed, so make sure you do. Subscribe. It's free, doesn't cost anything. As it's going to be a cloudy race, there might be a chance of rain. I'm not too sure. As we get the lights now, 3, 4, 5. And it's lights out and away we go for the OBF1 Season 4 Grand Opener as little Jim gets a brilliant start here. Oh, but Cairo goes down the inside and makes a brilliant move, but he goes a little bit wide and Jim retakes the lead of the US Grand Prix. There's a lot of battling going on in the background now. Oh, my apologies, guys. As there's no contact, so very good racing from these lots. As we get underway for the OBF1. As we got 2 drivers getting track limits. As we have got a yellow flag, a spun out FTH. Unfortunate there for FTH, but Jim almost a second ahead of Short Marcus. Short Marcus looking to defend his title. As Ahmed has left the session. So not sure what happened there with him. CDM and Mr. Series having an absolute flying battle now on lap 1. As that was a really good lap from our Tier 1 drivers. There's AGM and George battling at the back of the field. So he has joined back, but you will need to be careful. As Snitchy does get 3-second time penalty, so Mr. Series does get the move on CDM here through sector 1. Going into sector 2, so brilliant move, but can CDM get the switch back now? He was thinking about it, but he's not quite close enough for the move. As we have our predicted stop strategy coming up. Thank you very much for that, AWS. As my timing data is all gone. But the park is closely matched up right now. So in terms of tyres, so the majority of the field, about 3 drivers are all on the softs. 3 drivers, El Chahal, Ahmed and FTH, all on the medium tyres. So obviously Boris, Snitzy and CDM having respective time penalties of 3, 3 and 6. And there's my timing data back. My timing data is back. As there is a lot of potential, but DRS is enabled this lap. It's going to be very interesting. It's looking really good for the 2 Red Bull drivers now. As they're both in P4 and P5 respectively, so they're looking to overhaul some good points for the constructors. But so far leading this race is little Jim. He's almost a second up ahead of Short Marcus, but Short Marcus will get DRS on Jim here. Will there be any overtakes in the DRS zone? As the drivers come along, he's not quite close enough for the move. There is a little bit of battling going on in the background as the 2 Red Bulls battling it out, both teammates. As Paul gets the move on Snitzy here. As Boris does get the move on Mr. Series. Wheel to wheel here. Can Boris get the move on Mr. Series? He does brilliantly gets the move done on Mr. Series there up into P7. So Jim is almost 1 second ahead, but Cairo isn't too far away from Short Marcus here. He's just about too far away to make the move, going down into turn 1. So far, clean racing. So far from our tier 1 drivers. So far, track limits on penal. Oh no, not another stream of commentators curse. Oh no. As soon as I say that. It's the commentators curse, as these two are battling out. Mr. Series does get the move on there. Boris here, these two battling it out for P7. Brilliant move from the Alfa Romeo driver, Mr. Series here. As Snitsy and Paul, the two Red Bulls, battling out again at this corner. Snitsy gets the switchback on his own teammate. So brilliant there. So far the driver that's lost out the most is CDM. He's lost 3 positions since the race start. But George battling his way up into the field from P14 up into P10. So he's made up 4 positions. Short Marcus has made up 2 positions. And Mr. Series making up 2 positions in these opening field laps of the US Grand Prix here. So as the field is closely bunched, there is a lot of close battles here. As we're on lap 5 at the moment. So it's not looking really good for the Ferrari drivers of AGM and FDH at the moment. They're looking to battle their way up back into the points. Cairo is 3/10 on Short Marcus, but Short Marcus will get the DRS of Jim, yeah. As Mr. Series does get the move on Marshall here on the DRS straight. Can Marshall get the switchback? No, he cannot, as the Red Bulls battle it again at that corner. Third lap as Boris gets the move done on CDM here. Ooh, they come a little bit close to each other there, but luckily no contact, I believe so. As CDM, as we do have a spun George. No, my apologies, Marshall. Not sure what happened there in the background as CDM and Boris battling in here. Battling in English. As Paul does get 3-second time penalty now. So Boris will get the DRS. I believe so. He will get the DRS. And he will make the switchback. Can CDM defend his position now? He does defend his position, but here's CDM close wheel to wheel now. Going down into sector 2, but close behind is George in the Alpine. He's right up CDM's rear end now, so he's looking to defend from an Alpine driver and an Haas driver with a controversial livery, but we won't talk about that here. So Boris will not get DRS here, but CDM and George will get DRS of each other. So he's looking to defend now. So will any drivers make the move? The Alpine drivers thinking about making the move here. No moves made, so not quite close enough for the move. As FTH and Marshall battling out at the back of the field. As your race leader at the moment is Jim. Obviously leading this Grand Prix at the moment. But closely behind is Short Marcus at the moment. So he's not too far ahead at the moment. So there's also the McLaren driver, Cairo Racing. So far only 5 drivers have got penalties. Those penalties will play a big part later on in the race, as Boris and CDM battling it out again. Boris does go a little bit wide off track limits there, so very unfortunate as he does get a 3-second time penalty for that warning, as we have got a spun car, I believe, as he was battling with Marshall there. So has he got any damage? I don't believe he has any damage, so very unfortunate there. As CDM and Boris battling it out again. He does go defensive, CDM here. As the Alpine drivers getting really close now. Will he make a move? They go wheel to wheel. George in the Alpine does make the move there. Brilliant move by George to make up into P8. As all the other drivers now looking to make up as many positions in this season opener for season 4 of the OBF1 Tier 1 race. As CDM is looking to defend from George here, who's only 4 tenths behind, as he will get DRS, and also Boris will get DRS of George here. As AGM comes into the pits, and so does Marshall here. What tyres are they going to go on? Let's have a look. So he is going on another pair of soft tyres. Yes. The CDM does get a 3-second time penalty. So Marshall's going on the medium tyres. As we have a yellow flag for an... CDM! Oh, he spun! CDM has spun! Luckily to not lose a wheel though. If you know, you know. Marcus is closing in on it, little Jim here, but also Kyro's thinking about making a move as AGM does get a 3-second time penalty. It's just the commentator's curse, this is, with what I said about time penalties, isn't it? As the top 3 are really all within a second of each other here. As the 2 Red Bulls not too far behind Mr. Series in the Alfa Romeo, looking to make up points in the constructors for the Alfa Romeo team. As the rest of the field are separated by more than a second. As the 2 Red Bull drivers battling it out as well, so... As Cairo comes into the pits to change to the medium tyres, I believe, so he could change. Short Marcus does get up into P2, as Boris does get another 3-second time penalty. As this will be the pit window for the soft tyre runners, unless if they're maintaining their tyres now. As it's looking really good for El Shahal on his debut in Tier 1. He's up into P6, so it's looking really good for him. Along with Snitzy, who's also come up from Tier 2. As FTH does make the move on George here, down into turn 1. So brilliant move by FTH to go up into the points in P10. All the points will be vital on later in the season, because obviously we've got 15 rounds of this. This is just the first race of the OBF1 season. So far, the only closest battle we got going on track is currently Little Jim and Short Marcus, but they're yet to pit. Speaking of which, Paul is closing in on CDM here. He's thinking about making a move. Will he get the move? He does get the move done, but can CDM get the switch back? There we can also. Brilliant move by the Red Bull driver there on the Mercedes driver to move up into P8. As George does overtake FDH up into P10. So he does himself get up into the points, but can he defend from HDH, who's looking to gain that point position back? As Jim is gaining on Short Marcus by 1.2 seconds. As Boris comes into the pits with the Haas to change his tyres. I believe he will be going on the soft tyres, medium tyres, my apologies. He will be going on the medium tyres there. Not too much of a good debut from Marshall here in the Mercedes, who's obviously promoted from Tier 2 up into Tier 1. But there's still 19 laps to go, so there's plenty of time for him to make up some positions. As George does get a 3-second time penalty. Penalties flying out everywhere here, in Tier 1 as well. It's looking really good for Alfa Romeo at the moment, with drivers in P1 and P4, so that's a lot of points for the Alfa Romeo team. Oh, they've timed this pit stop brilliantly, the Alfa Romeo team. As the double stack works out brilliantly. As Mr. Series goes on the mediums, as does Jim. Yes, he's on the medium tyres here. So as the pit stop window comes into play. Luckily, Snitsy does not collide with any drivers there. As Paul goes up into P2, there's a massive battle from Jim here with the overtake on El Shahal. He does get the move done on El Shahal there, up into P3 onto the podium. So we got another yellow flag, as I believe it is a disconnected car. Why have I got a yellow flag? What's happening? Codemaster's bug, I believe so. Yeah, that's bugged. As Short Marcus comes into the pits from the race lead. We got another yellow flag. Not sure what's happening with all these yellow flags at the moment. As the Red Bull driver of Paul here leading the Australian American Grand Prix here. As Mr. Series and FTH battling it out here. As Mr. Series is closing in here, but he will get DRS of FTH here. This is the battle for P7. All points matters now. As Jim does get the move on Paul here, but Paul fights back. As Mr. Series does get the move, can FTH battle back and get the switch back? No, brilliant move by Mr. Series in the Alfa Romeo to make the position up. As Paul, the Red Bull driver, I should say, not the Red driver. He might be sunburned, but you never know how hot it is in Texas. Very hot place, very hot place. As Jim's closing in here, looking to gain that race lead back. In terms of position changes, George is having an absolute brilliant race so far, as he's made up 8 positions. As Marcus gets the move done on his teammate here. So it's looking very good for AlphaTauri at the moment. The two AlphaTauri drivers, obviously El Shahal making his debut. It's looking really good for El Shahal here at the moment, as Paul does get a 3-second time penalty for track limits. Stewards must be loving this at the moment. As FDH does get another 3-second time penalty. In terms of penalties, Paul with 6 seconds, George with 6, FDH and AGM both for Ferrari drivers at 3 respectively. Boris with 18 seconds of penalties. Wow. Snitchy with 6 and CDM with 9 seconds. In terms of tyre strategies, obviously the only driver to not stop so far, well, 2 drivers not to stop, is FDH and El Shahal. Obviously El Shahal on old mediums at this rate, so he will need to pit soon, but obviously those mediums can go for a lot longer than the softs. They're in between the soft and hard tyre compounds. Medium pace, but obviously the soft tyres, as we got a close battle going on here between Jim and Paul, but he's not too far. He's not too close for the move, as El Shahal does pit this lap. That's just the commentator's curse. I know this game too well. See, I know our tier 1 and tier 2 drivers too well. See, I know when they're gonna pit. As Boris has retired into the pit lane, which is allowed, so I'm assuming he was frustrated with the race he was having. So very unfortunate for Boris there in the Haas. Assuming the penalties were affecting him, and very unfortunate there from Boris to DNF there. As we have a Mercedes of CDM, he has spun it again! Oh, CDM, what are you doing? Why are you doing Mr. Spin here for? CDM, naughty naughty. As Jim and Paul are battling it out closely here, as Paul does, as we got another yellow flag. CDM, what are you doing? Going for a nice spin, are we? As we got Paul and little Jim battling it out here, as we have another yellow flag for Cairo, who's also spun. He will need to rejoin the track safely here. It's very unfortunate for him. As we got a close battle between these two drivers, the Red Bull drivers think about making a move. He does make the move on Jim here. Brilliant move by Paul to up into the race lead, but he does have a 3-second time penalty as these two. But Jim's not too far behind here. As Cairo has spun it again, as Marshall gets the 3-second time penalty. Who cares about that time penalty? We're focusing on this battle here. This very interesting battle between the Red Bull and the Alfa Romeo driver. As Cairo comes into the pits. It's a brilliant racing from these two drivers at the front. As Jim will get DRS here of Paul. He is closing in now. He opens his rear wing now. He's thinking about making the move. Will he get the switch back on him? He does. He absolutely flies past him. And they go wheel to wheel as well. So brilliant move by the Alfa Romeo driver there to make the move. And they go wheel to wheel here. They absolutely do not give any space to each other here. This is exciting as a commentator. I'm enjoying this. As Jim does get the move on Paul here, the battle for P1, but we're not done. We've still got plenty of laps left. It's only lap 15 out of 28. This is brilliant racing from these two. As the Ferrari drivers are making up a lot of positions here, FDH and AGM up in P6 and P7 respectively. So it's on the up for the Ferrari drivers. As Paul's closing in again. As these two will battle it out. As Paul does, can Jim get the switch back? No, he cannot. He cannot get the switch back, but he's only 1/10 behind as they go wheel to wheel, coming down into turn 3 here. Ah, look at this. This is a brilliant battle between these two drivers now. As the Red Bull, Paul and Jim battling it out. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant from these two drivers at the moment. As so far, it's looking really good for George. He's all the way up into P4. He's made up a lot of positions this race. As here we go again. Jim and Paul are battling out here again. As his teammate Snitsy was down in P9, so it's very respectable because obviously our tier 1 drivers are very fast. I can tell you that, rest assured. But brilliant race so far. It's looking really good for George, who's made up a lot of positions this race so far in this US Grand Prix. As Cairo does get a 3-second time penalty for track limits. CDM is... Cairo is just too far as Snitsy and El Shahal battling out. He does go a little bit wide, Snitsy there, so a little bit of a rivalry between these two former tier 2 drivers here. It's brilliant to see them up in tier 1. As Cairo Racing does get the move on CDM there at the back of the field, as we have a spun. Wow. I just don't know what to say about that, as we have no yellow flag. What? There's debris on the track. Ahmed, I'm not sure what happened there. I think that was intentional. But obviously I'm not too sure. He has left the session, so his car is moving. I'm not sure why he has not DNF'd. Oh yes, he has. His tyres lost. So he's left the session again. And his car... Not so sure about that DNF, but anyway, back to the action. As Paul will be leading this race so far. As Mr. Series is closing in here, he's thinking about making the move here. He does not quite make the move on George, as George has made up a lot of positions. El Shahal and Marshall, the former tier 2 drivers, battling out. This is wonderful to see. As El Shahal does get the move back on Marshall here, up into P7. As Paul does come into the pits again. Oh, as we have another yellow flag for the Mercedes driver who's just spinning around. He's just doing Mr. Series impression.
Evening pal, emoji thumbs up. Soon I get ready for the curse.
Get ready, get ready. Good evening as well. As George is out having a brilliant race here, he's up into P3. He's made up from P14 up into P3, so he's having a wonderful race here. He's made up a lot of positions in this race, but not too far as Mr. Series looking to get that podium position off him. As we come down to... Oh, as George has spun, Mr. Series absolutely brilliant there to avoid evasive action. That was brilliant from Mr. Series to avoid action there. So not sure what happened with George there. It's the commentator's curse, I tell you. Wow. As soon as I say that George is having a wonderful race, that battle Mr. Series for the podium, what happens? As Marshall does make the move on George here, his own teammate, the two Alpine drivers. It's the commentator's curse, I tell you. As Mr. Series, as Paul does get the move on Mr. Series up into P3. Very unfortunate for Georgia. It's the commentator's curse, I tell you. It's also happening in this race. As Snitsy is making up a couple positions now. So his tyres, George's tyres, is going to be really hot after that incident. As lucky not to have any contact there. Wow. Between Snitsy and Marshall, also former tier 2 drivers. Now in tier 1, proving why they should be in tier 1. As George, not sure why. I think he just lost a bit of traction there. Not sure why that happened, but I believe he lost some traction there coming out of the final few corners. As we got, sorry, but can we just appreciate what's happening with Codemasters game right now? Sorry, but, you know, 3 tyres. Not sure with his DNF, obviously. I'll leave the stewards decide that. And Jim is 6 seconds ahead. So in terms of pit stops, obviously Paul stopped twice, all the rest of the majority of the field has stopped once. A few drivers stopping 2 stoppers. So in terms of tyres now, Jim and Marcus, Paul, Mrs. Series, Snitsy and AGM are on the medium tyres. All the rest of the field are on the soft tyres respectively. But some of those soft tyre runners, they might... Ooh, a CDM gets a final warning for crossing the pit lane. He's not having a good race, CDM here. Really isn't. Very unfortunate, as he does get... Oh, he's just not going well for him at the moment. So in terms of penalties, CDM's got 20 seconds. 20 seconds worth of penalties now. As we come down to the final few laps of this OBF1 Tier 1 race. Season opener for Season 4. This is just the start, this is only one race, guys. As Marshall's only 8 tenths behind AGM here. As FTH does set the fastest lap of the race with 1:34.3. As Marshall's thinking about making the move here, he will get the move. Does he get the move? No, he does not. There's AGM, but Marshall does get the move. He gets a brilliant exit out of turn 1 there on FTH. Not sure what's happening with my timing screen. Not FTH, my apologies, AGM. I'm seeing too much red. I'm seeing too much red. So that's our closest battle at the moment on track, as all the other drivers in the field are separated by more than a second. So it's looking really good for Alfa Romeo at the moment if they can keep this up. Very unfortunate for George, as CDM does get another 3-second time penalty. CDM might get disqualified at this rate, and he has retired. I believe that was... not sure what... Why is he saying lap 10? My game is bugged. Just ignore that, it's not lap 10 guys, it's lap 21. If we ride on board with someone now, I want to see what... Was that intentional? Because he did not retire. Did he spin and crash? Because I did not see what happened. What was that? So drivers will use this safety car to their advantage. As some drivers will come in and switch to newer softs or mediums. So as we have 2 DNFs here. So obviously under safety car conditions you cannot overtake there. Cairo realising that rule there to give the position back. Sorry, this is just funny. Oh no! Our glitchiness of Codemasters game is going to go now. Look at the... oh, that's hurting my eyes. I'm not going to look at that anymore. So will it... hang on. Will it repair his tyre now? Or does it... oh my god. Look at that. Codemasters, this is your game, by the way. But as our race leader Jim comes into the pits, Short Marcus comes into the pits as expected, using this safety car to their advantage for their tyre strategies. So he does go on the soft tyres as expected. as the drivers are starting to get bunched up. So this will help the back of the field drivers at the moment, so they can get close to the action and maybe make up more positions for the final few laps of this US Grand Prix. So it's been a very exciting race at the moment, but for Short Marcus, our former world champion for season 3 and constructors, he's looking to defend his crown here. Or was that an overtake under the safety car? It was not. It's going to be a very vital part here, as Marcus is getting really close to Jim here. He's eager to get this race underway, but the safety car is not in this lap. I believe he'll be in next lap. As he is getting really close to Jim here on the race restart, so he's eager to go. He wants that win, as both drivers are on fresh softs. So apparently to my timing data, Ahmed is 17 minutes and 45 seconds behind. It was very controversial to what happened with his DNF there. Obviously, unless if it gets reported by the drivers about what happened, we shall see. As will the safety car come in this lap? I believe it will. This is going to be crucial for Jim here to control the pace of the field tactically here if he wants to defend from Short Marcus. And obviously Mr. Series looks to gain some positions to get that double podium for Alfa Romeo in this season opener for the OBF1 Tier 1 race. As Jim does control the field now, and we are back under green flag as George sets off with a 3-second time penalty. Very unfortunate there for him. Because there is no overtakes at the moment, so the field pretty bunched up right at the moment. As AGM is getting closer, will he make the move? They go wheel to wheel. He does keep it clean there. as Jim is almost 1.4 seconds ahead there, as George and AGM battling it out in the back of the field right now. As we start, Snitchy does get a 3-second time penalty. Penalties flying out everywhere, you gotta love it. As Jim sets the fastest lap with a 1:33.2 in the Alfa Romeo, so that all these points are counting for Alfa Romeo at the moment. As Snitchy's thinking about making the move here on Cairo. He does get the move done, so brilliant move there by Snitchy to make the move up into P8 over Cairo Racing there. George is only 1/10 behind him here. Very spicy finish to this Tier 1 race. This is what Tier 1 is all about. He was thinking about making the move there, but not close enough in DRS. But he will not get DRS. My apologies. None of these drivers do get DRS. Obviously, after the safety car, they've got to wait 2 laps. As George is using, I believe, a lot of ERS to make this move. He does not get the move done on Cairo Racing, as he was having a brilliant race, George. As Cairo and George are battling out again. They keep it clean on track as George and Cairo go wheel to wheel. Oh, he does push him a little bit wide there, George. But Cairo does get the position back there. As they come back again to each other. He's thinking about making a move. Does he make the move down, going down into turn 1? No, he does not. As George does get the move on Cairo there. So brilliant last few laps of this OBF1 Tier 1 race here. As Marcus gets a 3-second time penalty. So these time penalties are going to be crucial at the end of this race. And it's looking like Jim is going to win this race at the moment, unless something dramatic happens, as DRS is enabled this lap. So a few drivers are low on ERS in these final few laps, as they're flashing rear ends, flashing red lights. How are we looking on the ERS? So he's only on 10%, so he is using a lot of battery here, Snitsy, to try and keep into the points, or maybe make more points up for the Red Bull team. Obviously it's Paul, his teammate, obviously doing really well up into P3 on that podium, but short Marcus needs to defend here from the Red Bull driver. He's eager as we come down to the final 2 laps of this race. As Paul is closing that gap at the moment. As Marshall does get a 3-second time penalty there. Very unfortunate for his debut in Tier 1. As AGM gets another 3-second time penalty. Penalties fly out on these last couple of laps of this race. It's been a very exciting race. As closely behind is Mr. Series. He wants that podium. He wants that P3 off the Red Bull driver of Paul here. Zeljahal is having a brilliant debut in Tier 1 from Tier 2 last season up into P6. He will look to finish this race in the points for Tier 1 here. Marshall and George are both Alpine drivers. Unfortunate for George, as he was battling for podium, but had that unfortunate spin as he's cutting across the track. Luckily not to take anyone out there. Not sure what he was doing there. Maybe a loss of traction there. As Cairo does get a 3-second time penalty for track limits. Track limits are absolutely brutal here. As Jim starts his final lap of this US Grand Prix. Lap 28 out of 28. So drivers will need to make some moves here if they want to gain more points here. As George does get a 3-second time penalty, so very unfortunate for George here. These time penalties are going to play a crucial part in this final few laps. As we look at the penalties, George has 15 seconds, so he will finish P11, but speaking of which, Marcus does get the move done here. He does get the move done here on pole here. Brilliant move. Brilliant. But it's all about this guy, who has a brilliant start to the season. And it's looking really good for him here. As we have a yellow flag. But it can only be won by one. And Jim will win the Season 4 OBF1 Round 1 US Grand Prix for Tier 1. Brilliant there. As Mr. C. Reese gets P2 here. And El Shahal. So penalties playing a vital part here. So it is an Alfa Romeo P1 and P2. But also, speaking of which, it will be an Alpha Tauri P3 and P4. So brilliant there. Wow. Brilliant ending for Mr. Series there. As El Jahal gets Driver of the Day. Well deserved on his debut. So, brilliant there from the AlphaTauri drivers, the Red Bull drivers. Obviously all these penalties playing a crucial part. Yeah. But it's been really fun commentating this Tier 1 race. I've been your commentator Kieran, and be sure to tune in next Wednesday for more. This is just round 1, and we got 14 more races to come. It's going to be very exciting. If you wish to join the league, make sure to check the Discord link in the description, where we can get you joined in and hopefully organise a trial for you to see where your pace is at, see which tier you belong in. But other than that, guys, make sure you subscribe, because 1000% of you are not subscribed at the moment. So make sure you do click that subscribe button. It is free, of course. But other than that, guys, I've been your commentator Kieran, and I hope you have enjoyed the stream. If you have, make sure to leave a like, and I shall see you next week on Wednesday. Take care, everyone. Goodbye.